Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. What's going on, Burgess Meredith? Glad to see you here. And I'm going to get started. And tonight's topic, I'm going to be talking about internet Pharisees and internet Sadducees and the cancel culture they have created. Now, these days, it seems like if anybody posts anything on social media, we have these internet Pharisees and Sadducees who will spend time out of their lives to go dig up some old tweet from anywhere from 4 years ago to over a decade ago. And they will bring this old tweet or this old Facebook post up as a way to smear an individual they have some sort of issue with. And when I take a critical examination of this practice that these woke types participate in by digging up these old tweets and posts on social media in an effort to try to destroy somebody else's professional and personal reputation, it really reminds me of what I read in the Bible regarding the Pharisees and the Sadducees. Now, in the time of Jesus, you had these Pharisees and Sadducees, and these were supposed to be the righteous men of the time. They were supposed to be the ones running the church. However, these men were not about following the word of the Most High living God. No, these men were creating their own religion in order to please the people of the Roman Empire. So they weren't about serving the Lord like they were supposed to. They were all about trying to appease and please their Roman masters. And they had put these Roman masters above everything else. And when I compare your woke types, I see the same sort of behavior. These people are believe that they are superior to everybody else. They have compromised themselves, and they believe that their way is the only way. They believe their values are the only values, and these people, the only thing they want to do is push their agendas, and they believe that because they are so-called woke, they are right. So I look at them, and again, I see the Pharisees and the Sadducees, people who are so caught up in the world that they just have no real relationship with God, and they don't understand the things about love as related to God. So these people, they want to make everybody out to be a villain, but they don't see that the real villain of the story is themselves staring in the mirror. The person who is the real bad guy are these woke types, because these woke types, they want to do like what Jesus said, strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. Now, your woke types, what they will do is if they see somebody who posts something on social media they disagree with, that what they will do is spend hours out of their lives digging up dirt on that individual, looking for that one tweet or that one Facebook post that they believe will show this person as a racist or a homophobe or whatever sort of thing they believe would make this person somebody who people shouldn't listen to. And they will go and dig up these old posts in an effort to try to destroy this individual. And when they do that, they do this again because these people are really sad, pathetic people, because you have to ask yourself a critical question. Who is going to spend this much time, excuse me, let me put my glasses on, this much time as related to an individual that wrote a post on Twitter or Facebook that they disagree with, or made a YouTube video that they disagree with? I mean, that's a monumental waste of time, as I see it, time that they could take to work on themselves and build themselves up. But these individuals, they are not interested in doing anything as related to building, because these individuals, they are just so caught up in their anger and their hatred that all they want to do is tear other people down. And that's why I believe that your woke types, they are of the devil, because the devil was a murderer, the devil was a robber, and the devil was a destroyer. And the woke type, they believe that they have this righteousness, but in actuality, their father is the devil. And the reason why their father is the devil is because you can just look at the fruits of their labor. When you look at the woke type, the fruits of their labor is not something that allows others to prosper and grow, nor is there something there that allows people to see something as a greater work as related to the Most High living God. When we look at these woke types, everything that they do is not about bearing good fruit and bearing the fruit of the Spirit. What these people do is they find an individual who has had some success. They find an individual who is doing well. They find an individual who is prospering. And what these individuals do is they become like the crab in a bucket black people. And what they want to do is pull that individual down. They want to tear that individual down, and they want to destroy another individual. And what they want to do, again, is start by digging up that dirt as related to social media, and then waging this campaign to so-called cancel this individual by finding a way to deny that person an opportunity to get employment or be able to make a living. And that's where I have an issue, again, with the woke types, because the woke types, again, they don't see how this is the exact same behavior that the Pharisees and the Sadducees participated in during the time of Jesus, because these Pharisees and the Sadducees, they put heavy burdens on people in society, and they put these heavy burdens on people as related to how they're supposed to behave, but they don't really follow those rules when you look at it. Because if you look at the internet Pharisees and the Sadducees, these are hypocrites, because they tell us that we're supposed to believe that they're so good, but when we look at their behaviors are inherently evil, because these self-righteous individuals, they believe that because somebody wrote something they disagree with or presented opinions they don't like, that it's their right to destroy that individual. Well, that was not presented in the Bible. If we look at Jesus Christ and the way he behaved in the time of Rome with the Pharisees and the Sadducees, he presented us with an example of how we're supposed to carry and conduct ourselves as related to individuals who we believe have done wrong. And the ultimate example of that was when the Pharisees and the Sadducees came out here, grabbed this adulteress and brought her before Jesus and said that they wanted to, the policy was to stone this woman for committing adultery. And these individuals, they wanted Jesus to go along with this principle because what they wanted to do was be able to continue going on with their evil and depraved behavior. But Jesus presented the ultimate example as related to people who have done wrong and so-called canceling them, because Jesus had the possibility, he could have canceled that adulteress's life, but Jesus set a stronger example when he said, "He who is without sin cast the first stone." And the reason why he said that is because he was God in the flesh, and he was the Son of the Most High living God, and he was the one who was born without sin, and he was the one without sin. So, as the only person there without sin, he didn't pick up any stones to stone the adulteress, and all of those individuals, they were left shamefaced because they all had sinned, they all had done wrong, and all of those individuals could not stone that woman because all of those individuals had their own sins, so they couldn't sit there and say, "Okay, we can stone this woman because Jesus is going along with it." But Jesus didn't go along with it because Jesus came on earth to pay the sin debt of all humanity, and he came to earth to forgive all of humanity for all of its sins, past, present, and future. So your woke types, what they want to do is say that they are bigger than Jesus, and what they want to do is say that they don't forgive anybody for anything, and because they don't forgive anybody for anything, they need to go out here and cancel individuals over things that they said 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And what's really troubling is so many people go along with these woke types, not understanding that we need to follow the standard of Jesus, the Son of the Most High living God. And if he could, as part of his sacrifice on the cross, forgive all of humanity for its sins, then we need to start going out here and forgiving people for their sins. And when I look at, most of these people out here, these woke types, they take, again, like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, these people strain at gnats and swallow camels, because these people will go out here and they will go out here and try to destroy an individual for an opinion that they have, or a post they have made on a social media site, or a video they have made, and they will get caught up in their emotions about canceling this individual for presenting something that they disagree with. And again, this is straining at a gnat, but they will go out here and give passes to all sorts of deviancy and debauchery, like these multiple genders and all this other stuff that they want to promote as part of their woke culture. They will give all of this stuff a complete pass. And that, again, goes right back to the Bible with the whole principle of straining at a gnat and swallowing the camel. What they're doing is they are just nitpicking these little things and going on these, as I see it, these social media mobs and these rampages. And what they do is go out here putting all of these posts up in an effort to try to get somebody fired, or cost somebody their job, or try to destroy somebody's career and their personal life. But what they will do is give passes to people based on their feelings regarding them. And when I look at your woke people, again, I see, like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they are willing to give passes to prominent people, and they're willing to be selective about their outrage when it comes down to what they're angry about. They'll be angry at one individual about one thing that they said, but they'll give a pass to somebody far more egregious as related to things, as related to their standard. For example, a couple of weeks ago, we had Hartley Sawyer, who was fired from his role as the elongated man on The Flash, as related to a tweet he made over 9 years ago. Meanwhile, many of these same woke types, they will give a pass to your James Gunn, who made tweets 10 years ago talking about pedophilia and child sexual violence. And this is the most troubling thing, because these people, they will want to get rid of a Hartley Sawyer for his tweets and want to cancel him. But these same people will give James Gunn a complete pass for his tweets. So they have a selective outrage as related to who they want to cancel. And again, it just shows you the hypocrisy of your woke types. Just like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they are like them, because the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they weren't looking to follow the God standard. What they wanted to do is pander to the Romans, and that's what the woke types want to do. They want to pander to the Romans of this era, and what they want to do is appease those masters. And what they have done is shown how they are serving a different master than the living God. And that's what Jesus said: no man can serve two masters. They will love one and hate the other. And the woke types show how they hate God, because they are clearly serving the devil. When you look at the woke types, they're not really interested in following the word of the Most High, presenting the principles of the Most High. And they're out there sitting there talking about how outraged they are regarding these minor infractions that people make online. I mean, everybody has posted a tweet, as I see it, or a Facebook post that would be offensive to someone in some way. Some YouTube videos would be offensive to some people. And the response, as I see it, not really a response, because a response is something measured with critical thinking. The reactions from these individuals shows how they clearly don't know how to navigate through their emotions. They don't know how to think critically, and they don't know how to go out here and deal with differing opinions. I mean, when I look at many of these woke types and how they react to things, they clearly show me that many probably came from single mother households, and many of them just don't know how to brush stuff off and move on. Now, that's something I learned growing up in the 80s, because in the 80s, you dealt with a lot of different opinions, a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different ideas, and you had to just brush them off, because if a person had a difference of opinion, you just learned to accept it and go on your way. We didn't have people out here looking to cancel people's ability to make a living. Yes, there were bullies and troublemakers like I dealt with in junior high school and high school. And again, those were really children who really didn't understand that the world is filled with different people. But what's troubling is we have grown men and women these days who don't understand that we live in a world filled with people with differing opinions, different viewpoints. And just because somebody writes something that you think is offensive does not give you a right to destroy another individual. I mean, that goes back to another biblical principle, and that is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I mean, many of these woke types don't understand that what you're doing to another individual in trying to destroy that person's ability to make a living and live in these United States. Would they want somebody to go out here and wage a campaign to destroy them? I mean, if you had to live with that, would you want that to happen? I mean, that's something I want people to think about, as related to this cancel culture. Would you want somebody to cancel you all because you said something on Twitter like, I like pickles on my chicken sandwich, or I prefer the Whopper over the Big Mac? I mean, this is the type of thing that can trigger some of these, what people call woke types. And this is the type of thing that I see as really sad and really petty because, again, Jesus' standard is to forgive people for their trespasses. In fact, he died on the cross to pay for every trespass that we have committed, past, present, and future. And your woke types, but they don't want to forgive people. They don't want to move on. And again, Jesus said to do this 70 times 7, but these people take one infraction that an individual makes, and they use this to go on these Twitter mob, as I call it, Twitter lynch mobs and Facebook lynch mobs, to go out here and harass these companies into doing harm to an individual. And they believe they've accomplished something. But again, when we look at the fruits of these woke types, we see how all they have done is place thorns, briars, and bristles as in the way of all the people around them. Thank you, Brant Bates, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. If you want to donate to the super chat, you can do so as well. And if you want to donate to the Cash App, I would really appreciate it. I'm going to leave a link to the Cash App. And again, these woke types, I look at their hubris and I really am deeply disgusted by it because, again, this is not something that people who follow God want to do. I mean, when people who follow God, we understand that, yes, people make mistakes, and I make mistakes, and nobody's life should be destroyed because somebody wrote a post on a social media site. Nobody should, as I see it, lose their career because they made a post on a social media site. Nobody should be denied an opportunity to go out here because, as I see it, in addition to not being a godly standard, it's also not even an American standard because in America, this was a country founded primarily by people who were denied an opportunity to express themselves. I mean, most of the colonists who came to this country, they came here because they didn't have the freedoms they had in Britain, the original colonists, and the immigrants who came here. They came here because they were denied the opportunity at freedom of religion, freedom of expression, freedom to be able to get equal economic opportunity. And here we have these woke types looking to impose the same type of oppression on American citizens. And that's something most Americans who know their U.S. Constitution, know the laws of these land, would have a serious issue with, because most of the people who founded this country, they didn't have perfect records. What's going on, T-Mac? What's going on, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare? Glad to see you here on Rudy Dog, Killer SI, Movie, Garriga Prime, Rocky Mountain, Rocky Matrix, Rocket Man, Rocky Matrix, D Woodward. Glad to Golan, The Hobbit. Glad to see you all here. But when I look at the whole foundation of what America is supposed to be about, again, America is supposed to be a place that is not only a land of freedom and opportunity, but it is also the nation that is known for giving people second chances. I mean, that was one of the core foundations of what this country was about. It was supposed to be about, if you made a mistake in one part of your life, you could go out here and still get that second chance to redeem yourself and build something in the aftermath. That was one of, thank you, Killer SI. I'm going to keep making the videos. But that's a principle that is one of the things that was important to America, as I see it, people getting that second chance. I mean, but with your woke types, you make one minor infraction, and this they want to practically destroy you for making that one mistake. And that, as I see it, is completely wrong. I mean, one person making one mistake should not present that person from going out here and being able to go out here and move on and move forward. But these people, again, like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, they want to stone everybody. They want to destroy everybody. And they think it's okay to stone and destroy everybody over the smallest infractions. Meanwhile, these same people give passes to the people they like and allow them to participate in egregious actions. Thank you, Brother Tennessee, for the super chat. He states, interesting how the left hates the Confederacy and wants to remove its symbols and history, but doesn't but does the same practice as the Confederates. That's very true. I mean, yeah, they all talk about they want to remove all of these Confederate statues and they want to erase the Confederacy, but the Confederacy was founded by the left, and they were leftist views that were the part of the Confederacy. And like the beta males, they don't want to acknowledge that they made a mistake. Because again, in the eyes of the woke, they believe that they are perfect. They believe they are the ones that are right. And they believe because they believe they're right, they have a right to impose their will on everyone. And that is wrong, as I see it. Just because you have your opinions in this United States does not give you a right to impose your will on everyone. That's what a fascist does. A fascist, what they do is they want to make everybody think the way they do, feel the way they do, and they want to make everybody believe what they want to believe. Thank you, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. Yeah, we have 42 in the chat. Let's get the likes up to 40 at least, because I mean, everybody's here. The least we can do is get them up. But when I look at that and saying, hey, we want everybody to think the same way, it reminds me of something David Carroll said. It's at the top of the screen. Let me see where we are. On your screen, it's right there, Brother Tennessee, right under the analytics and the thing with share. That's where you can hit the like button. But it's like right below the screen where you're watching. So it's like share, save, thumbs up. But the whole thing is that they want everybody to think their way. They don't want to listen to any dissension of opinion. They don't want to listen to anybody disagreeing with them. And they want to form these mobs, to attack people. And I don't really like seeing that. I believe that's one of the most egregious things. And one of the most cowardly things the woke do is they want to go out here and form a mob to attack someone online instead of just saying, look, this is the internet. We're going to see all sorts of stuff on here. You're going to see things that you don't agree with. And if you see things like that, what you do is scroll down and call it a day. But these people escalate their behavior to, as I see it, ridiculous levels, looking to cancel people. And it's a ridiculous thing to, again, cancel someone, because just like you set a campaign to cancel another individual, somebody can set an effort to cancel you. And as I see it, that's just like what we have here in the ghetto. And when you have that, you have nothing built, because if one person can tear another person down, then nobody can build anything anywhere. So that's why I see everybody's got to push back against this cancel culture, because then nobody is going to be able to do anything, because according to the woke types, they can dig up any sort of dirt that they believe that you've done, and use this as a way to terminate your employment or go out here and find a way to, in some cases, like the woke types were trying to do, destroy people's ability to have a bank account and even find a way to make a living. When I was looking at some of the stuff that these woke types were planning and doing, they were writing these letters to banks, they were writing letters to these corporations. And these corporations, because they're so scared of offending people, they would go along with these insane requests. And them going along with these insane requests, as I see it, just shows how weak they are as a business. You can't be afraid to push back against people who come to you with absolutely ridiculous requests like, oh, so-and-so made a post on Twitter, so he shouldn't have a bank account. That's bad for your business long term. Yeah, Brother Tennis, they went after several people trying to make it where they couldn't do business in having a bank account, where they couldn't have a PayPal. And I saw that as going way too far. I mean, you want to destroy a person's ability to just do basic business in this country, again, all because their opinions don't match yours. I mean, when you look at that, that's again that's something that's done in fascist countries and communist countries. That's not something that Americans should want to do. I mean, if somebody is presenting opinions you don't like, what you do is, again, you hit that red X on the left hand of your Macintosh and the right hand of your Windows computer, or you hit that X at the top of your cell phone and you call it a day. I mean, back in the days of the 1980s when I was a kid and there were TV shows that I didn't like, what I would do is pick up my remote control, change the channel, and call it a day, because I understood the value of my time, and I understood that every second I spent complaining about how bad a TV show was or how bad a movie was time out of my life that I was losing and wasting on something that I could have used to go out here and do something constructive with. And the woke types, when I see it, these young people, they really don't understand the concept of time and how precious it is. I mean, a lot of these people, they are on these college campuses. They are thank you for the Cash App. Whoever, Anthony Powell, for donating that. I mean, really appreciate that. I mean, really, really appreciate. I mean, what was that? Let me see who that is. Oh, okay, Nightingale Wednesday Nightmare. Thank you for the Cash App. Really appreciate it. Really, really appreciate it, because she donated something really that's going to help me. Especially with this new project I'm doing. But I'll talk about that in a minute, because I got a new project I'm doing that's on the Patreon. There's a sneak preview of it on the Patreon. So if you're over on the Patreon, you can take a look at that sneak preview. But I look at that, leave a link to the Patreon, the sneak peek, you can look at it. If you're a patron, you can look at that sneak peek. Now, I may post it up on YouTube and post this Saturday after this stream, but it's a big project, and this is something, again, I look at that and I said, people, I look at that, you're trying to cancel people, and this culture of canceling people, again, I see it as something, again, as ungodly, un-American, and it's just something we need more Americans to push back on, because to cancel someone for having an opinion, that goes too far, and to cancel their ability to make a living in this country, that goes beyond egregious, because this country was founded on giving people that equal opportunity, to give people that ability to go out here and make that living, and to go out here and be able to build something. And your woke people, in spite of them having all of these college degrees and all of this education, they don't have a foundation in the Bible with the Most High, nor do they have a foundation as related to what this country was based on. Because when I look at what they learned in this university, all they want to do is they get in their feelings about people, and they want to go out here and cancel people who they disagree with, and they want to cancel people. BK Standard 88, thank you for the super chat. Yeah, that's wrong to lose a job as related to speaking out against Black Lives Matter. I mean, that, as I see it, is wrong, because I've heard from so many people who said they have lost jobs because they went out here and had a difference of opinion. I've seen people lose jobs. I've heard from people who said they lost jobs because they had Facebook accounts or YouTube accounts, and that's, as I see it, is wrong. I mean, as an employee, you have a right to express your opinions, and a lot of these companies who are caught up in woke are so afraid of their image being so-called tarnished as related to an employee that they're willing to fire someone over some small comment that they made, instead of just brushing it off and seeing it as, okay, he made a comment that's it's like, unless he's making like really racist comments and going out here and promoting violence against another individual, then a difference of opinion is not something you fire people over. I mean, I know you're afraid of losing business, but the whole thing is that you're going to lose more business, because with these woke types, as I see it, it's like a nuclear bomb being dropped. They don't understand what you're doing to one person affects another person, and all that's going to do is create ashes and a bunch of people who think they're going to rule over ashes. So it reminds me a lot of what I grew up with here in the South Bronx with the ghetto. I mean, you had one black person looking to destroy another black person because they got a new pair of shoes, they got a nice car, and looking to do things like destroy people, all because they were getting new stuff. And it really led to people not having anything. Somebody buys a new TV, they want to steal their new TV. Somebody buys a VCR, you want to steal their VCR. You want to make other people miserable. And I find that to be, again, something that, again, is un-American, ungodly. You're going to try to destroy people because they're trying to move up in life, and it's all because you're miserable on the inside, and you want to perpetuate your misery to other people on the outside. Because when I look at many of these woke types who say that they're so self-aware, I see people who have no happiness on their inside. I mean, I know having your eyes open to the truth can be a very painful thing, but you don't have a right to destroy other people's lives because you're seeing something that you don't like. I mean, there are some things I've learned over the last 30 years, and especially when I came out of college, there are certain things that I didn't like about the world, but I can't change those things, but I can change me. And the first thing with the woke people is they want to go out here and they want to take the plank out of the world's eye, but they don't see the knot in their own eye. And that, again, goes back to their hypocrisy. When you look at these woke types, they have this plank in their own eye, and they don't really want to look at it and see, hey, you've got all these flaws, you've got all these issues, but you want to come out here and call yourself changing the world, but you don't want to deal with the sins in your own life. You don't want to deal with the problems in your own life. You don't want to try to go out here and deal with all the stuff you are participating in. I mean, clean up, as the Williams Brothers song said, sweep around your own front door before you go after somebody else's door. I mean, that was a classic Williams Brothers gospel song, and the woke types really need to go listen to that song, because I look at them, and when you look around their front door, there's a lot of dirt. And like the Pharisees and the Sadducees, a lot of these woke types, they remind, like what Jesus said about sepulchers, they have this clean outside, but the inside is just filled with sin. And that's why the fruits they bear are these thorns and briars, because when we look at them, again, on the outside, they present themselves as these paragons, they present themselves as these ideals, but when you look at them and look at the fruits of their behavior, they aren't bearing that fruit that Jesus said everybody is supposed to bear, which is the fruit of the Spirit, love, and things as related to the two commandments Jesus established, which is to love the Lord with all your heart, your soul, and your spirit. And they're not bearing the ultimate one, loving your neighbor as you would love yourself. Because if you loved your neighbors as you love yourself, you would understand that, while you have made mistakes in life, that other people have made mistakes in life. And when people make mistakes, it doesn't mean we cancel an individual for making a mistake. We understand that, okay, he has made a mistake, he's had a problem, he's had an issue, and okay, we will help that person work on that issue. And an example of that is what happened with Mike Tyson. I mean, a lot of people allege he was this person who participated in an act of sexual violence against Desiree Washington, but Mike Tyson was given a second chance. And we look at Mike Tyson at 50 years old, and he's now getting ready to box once again. And I mean, he wouldn't have been able to do that if he had came up in this era, but he came up in the 90s. People forgave Mike Tyson. They gave him a second chance, and Mike Tyson has now gone on to bear more fruit. And this is what people don't understand. It's like, when you cancel people, they don't get that second chance to bear more fruit, and they don't get that chance to rebuild themselves. And that's something that the woke types, they don't understand, because what they want to do is they want to burn every part of that individual, destroy every part of that individual. And that's not what God would want us to do. He wouldn't want us to go out here and destroy another individual because they either said something or did something. What he would want us to do is forgive that person and let them go on. And if they have gone out here and atoned for what they have done, then they can be accepted once again. I mean, that's something that is in the Bible, and it's all a part of American culture. We have given people second chances, third chances, and people who are genuine and come from the heart, they have come back to be better and stronger. But in this woke society and this woke culture, people are not allowed to come back to be that better and stronger individual. They are not allowed to go out here and get that chance to do better and to be better and learn from their mistakes. And I find that to be the most troubling part about cancel culture. I mean, they just want to end this person, not understanding that once you have ended this person's ability to make a living, this person is still alive. So the critical question I have to ask them is, after we've canceled the individual, what does that person do next? I mean, do we give this person a chance to learn from their alleged mistakes, or do we just let them die on the vine? And the woke person will just say they can just die on the vine, not understanding that the standard you are establishing are planting seeds that eventually you're going to wind up becoming something that you're going to sow later on. So you are going to reap what you sow, because when you plant these seeds to cancel an individual's ability to keep a job, make a living, even be able to do things like go to the bank and and have a place to put their money, eventually somebody can come along and do the exact same thing to you. So the standard you're establishing is very similar to what was established as related to, I can't remember who it was who created the gallows to hang the Jews and then wound up on his own gallows. And that's what the woke people don't see. This, like, you're creating these gallows to go out here and take the lives and livelihoods of individuals you disagree with, but you don't see that sooner or later you may wind up being hung by your own gallows. So you're sitting there thinking, oh, it's okay for me to destroy this person because he wrote something that I thought was racist, sexist, or homophobic, and I'm going to destroy his ability or her ability to go out here and get a job. I'm going to destroy his ability to make a living. I'm going to destroy their ability to find a way to be able to feed and clothe themselves, because the woke types, they want to see people groveling and begging, and they want to see people practically, homeless and destitute. And would you want that for yourself, all because you expressed an opinion to a boss that they didn't like, or you wrote a tweet saying that I like hot dogs instead of hamburgers and I'm working at a hamburger company? I mean, a lot of these business owners, they really also, as I see it, need to think about this cancel culture, because it shows how, as I see it, some of these business owners are cowardly. It shows how some of them are really petty, and it really shows how they're not about caring for their employees' well-being. I mean, if an employee presents has a YouTube channel or a Facebook, I mean, and you have content that you don't like, I mean, unless they're saying something completely inflammatory about the business or saying something completely inflammatory as related to killing ethnicities or harming people, then you just have to sit there and say, okay, he's got a YouTube channel. That's nothing I need to really worry about. It's not going to reflect, as I see it, badly on your business, because I look at, again, that standard, and I look at companies like Marvel Comics. They would sit there and have their employees who talk about people and try to demonize people and cancel people, but yet they're allowed to keep their jobs. But a person who presents a differing opinion, they want to fire that individual. But that again goes back to their hypocrisy as related to straining that gnat and swallowing a camel. You can attack you got people at Marvel Comics practically attacking customers online, and editorial gives them a pass for this extremely egregious behavior that alienates customers. But a person who simply says that they don't like certain policies or they don't like certain things, they will go out here and look to fire that individual. And again, that is something that is ungodly and un-American, and it's something that really shows, again, the pettiness of these individuals and the cowardice of many in corporate America. Because as I see it, when you have strong leadership in a business, strong leadership is going to push back against the woke types and let them know that while you have employees who have differing opinions, these opinions allow us to have a diversity of thought, and we are not going to terminate an individual based on what they have said that somebody considers to be offensive. We will only terminate someone once there are actions as related to due process under the law. If the individual has made a criminal act of behavior, then we will go out here and look to terminate that employee. But you don't terminate people for having differences of opinion or going out here and presenting different viewpoints. Different viewpoints allow your company to grow. Different viewpoints allow your company to become a stronger company. Different viewpoints allow your company to be more competitive. And different viewpoints allow people to see the entire world. But you can't see the entire world if you have a woke mindset and a cancel culture mindset, because anything that you disagree with, you want to cancel. And that leads to a person having a very, very narrow-minded viewpoint. I mean, all you're seeing is everything through one lens, and that lens is what's taking people into these echo chambers. And these echo chambers, all they're doing is listening to viewpoints that they agree with. And that's what makes this whole culture very, very disturbing, because you're not listening to other viewpoints and getting a diversity of ideas or a diversity of perspectives. What you're getting are individuals who only want to hear one viewpoint. And that's what's really troubling about the woke types. And when I look at the woke types critically, they remind me a lot of the incels, because the incels, have the same kind of idea about people. They only want to hear from other incels, and they only want to hear viewpoints about how women are bad, how that women only want Chads and Tyrones, and how these Stacys and hot women, they only want a certain type, but they don't want to hear the dissent that tells them they have to take responsibility for themselves. And if they want to go out here and have a relationship, they have to see another human being as another human being. Understand, they have individual thoughts and feelings just like you, and you need to respect that other person, because in order to be in a relationship with another person, you have to you have to be able to empathize with another person, and you have to be able to see another person just like you see yourself. And that's what I'm seeing again with the woke types. They don't have any empathy. They don't have any sort of understanding that people are different. And what they want to do, again, like the incel, they want to cancel other people. And again, they believe they are in their rights to destroy other people. And that is the very scary mirror of them. I mean, when I look at the woke types and I see the incel, it's basically like looking at two parallel mirror reflections. But if you told the woke person, hey, you're acting just like this incel, your behavior is just like this incel, they'll deny it. But when you look at their behaviors, they are exactly the same. I mean, that's, again, shows you how they think. And it's really, really disturbing. And they can't see it. They can't really see how their whole framework of thinking is just really twisted. When I look at their framework of thinking, it's like everybody has to be like me. Everybody has to have the same ideas as me. And if you don't have these ideas, I'm going to go and get into this echo chamber with like-minded people. We're going to form this social media mob, and then we're going to try to tear you down. And that's, again, ungodly and un-American. And again, it's not something that anybody should want to support. And again, we need more people to push back against this, because if these people are allowed to continue on like this, they're going to destroy life for just about everyone, because in their world, they are perfect. But again, as according to the Most High living God, nobody is perfect. Everyone has sinned and come short of God's glory and grace. And the critical question you need to ask yourself, if you're a woke person, is, should God cancel you because you've sinned and come short? Or should you be given that second chance that Christ gave us with his gift of salvation? That's the critical question many of these people who are woke don't really understand, because according to them, they don't believe in God. But as a believer and follower of the Most High for over 30 years, I want them to gain some perspective on that, because just like you deny people here on earth, God can deny you the kingdom, and you can deny yourself the kingdom by denying others. And this is something that the woke person really doesn't understand. They will sit there and they will be like, oh, I'm perfect, but The whole thing is is looking down at you, and again, he can deny you the kingdom based on the fruits of of who you are. I mean, if you're going to deny people, again, you can reap what you sow, but God doesn't really see it that way, because that's why he sent his son Jesus to pay for all of our sin debts and forgive all our sins on the cross. If he could do that, then we should be able to do that. And that's why, again, we have to go out here and again push back against this woke culture. Because again, when you look at this woke culture and you look at the whole foundation of it, it really comes from the devil. Because again, the devil is a murderer, the devil is a thief, and the devil wants to destroy people's lives. So when you look at woke people, what they want to do is they want to murder somebody's ability to make a living. They want to steal from people as related to their time, going out here searching for these posts. And they want to destroy not only the person that people are targeting, they also are destroying the woke individual, because this woke individual can't see how this perspective they have is changing them, how it's twisting them, and how it is making them miserable. Because while you think your eyes are open, what your eyes are open to is something really twisted. And really, really disturbing, because you're just seeing things from a really hate-filled view. And the great irony is that these people will sit there and talk about hate speech and talk about how they need to shut everything down as related to hate speech. But the great irony is that they just hate hearing from difference of opinions. They hate hearing different viewpoints. And they're the ones who are really filled with all of this anger, this bitterness, and they really sit there, they hate their lives, and they want to make everybody just as miserable as they are. I mean, when I was looking at some video of their so-called CHOP or Chaz empowerment zone, I didn't see any building going on there. In fact, all I saw was them tearing things down, making people's lives in that community miserable, and basically turning that very middle class area of the Capitol Hill into another ghetto. As somebody who grew up in the ghetto of the South Bronx next to the Metro North Railroad tracks, I showed that in a video about 2 years ago. I can tell you that's what your CHOP or your Chaz empowerment zone was. It was nothing more than a glorified ghetto. And these woke types who were wandering around, they were reminding me so much of Pookie and Ray Ray. It wasn't even funny. I was looking at it, like, this is white Pookie, this is white Ray Ray. And the saddest part is, these were supposed to be your college educated white males and white females. And they were basically living like people in the hood. And they were turning that middle class neighborhood into a ghetto. And they were thinking that they were doing something great, but because they didn't want to read history or study history or understand a different perspective, they could not see how they were destroying people's lives in that neighborhood, and how they were actually making things harder for Black people. Because a critical question people were going to ask is, what does you taking over these 6 blocks have to do with the murder of George Floyd? And how does this improve our quality of life when we have no police? And when we look at these people, they got rid of the police in that area. And what happened was, you had anarchy and chaos that was on the level of stuff I saw growing up as a kid during the early 1980s and late 1970s, when the Bronx was basically nothing more than a wasteland that looked like it had been hit by a nuclear holocaust. I mean, practically looked bombed out. I mean, I remember going out with my parents, just walking by lots, just that where buildings used to be, just numerous abandoned lots. And the area looked like a war zone. I mean, I remember walking by abandoned buildings, abandoned lots. I mean, that was what I saw as a kid growing up back in the late 70s, early 80s. And this is what your Chaz or your Chop people were getting ready to turn your this middle class, prosperous area of Seattle into. And they thought they were accomplishing something. And because again, they were seeing things from the rose-colored view of wokeness, they couldn't see how they were tearing things down and destroying the quality of life for people, all because they wanted to get free stuff. And they wanted to get this free stuff from working class people who just left the area. And the area was deteriorating because it had no police and it had nobody there to protect the common citizens. It didn't even have people there to protect the Chaz individuals. And eventually, the Chaz individuals or the Chop individuals began terrorizing each other. One person got shot, another person wound up losing their life. And again, the critical question is, how does turning this area into a war zone help the people get justice for George Floyd? That's a critical question I want to ask many of the Chop or Chaz people. And how does this lead to George Floyd's murderers being convicted and punished for their crime? Because I thought that was the goal here. But when it comes down to your Black Lives Matter and your woke types, they have a problem with focusing because they really don't have an agenda. They really don't have a direction. And it's all based on their emotions, and they're running primarily on their feelings. And just like many of the people who come from single mother households, they only think about things as related to how they feel about them, and they don't have a rational or logical plan for coming up with constructive solutions for improving the quality of life. Because when you listen to the Black Lives Matter types and the woke types who took over that area, they were talking about how they wanted to get stuff from the businesses by shaking them down, but they had no plan for building. Again, going back to my point about ye shall know them by their fruits. And when you look at your Black Lives Matter, you look at your Chaz and Chops and your woke types, they brought thorns and briars to that area. I mean, they planted these seeds and they grew up to become thorns and briars. And that's what you saw in that area. Because it's like, seems like, again, every place these woke types go, they lead a path of destruction. And every place they go, people's lives are not made better. Again, ye shall know them by their fruits. And when we look at the fruits of the woke, everywhere they go, they bring chaos and destruction. For example, the woke types came to Marvel Comics about 3-4 years ago. And what happened was we didn't see sales go up at Marvel Comics. No, we saw them, lose 90% of their readership. And we saw their sales drop 90%. But according to the woke types, it wasn't them who did this. It was the readers who did this. And that's another trait of the woke types as related to their frame of thinking. Everybody is wrong except them. And whenever things are going wrong, they never want to take any sort of responsibility. I mean, the woke types will sit there and talk about how things need to change. And then when things go wrong, they don't want to say that they were wrong. They don't want to say that they made a mistake. And they don't want to take responsibility for making that mistake. So they remind me, again, a lot of what I wrote about in The Man Crisis about, boys who come from female-headed households. Because the boy who comes from the female-headed household and the girl who comes from the female-headed household, they don't want to take responsibility for anything. for anything, and they don't want to acknowledge that, okay, I made a mistake, this went wrong, and now I need to correct course. And when it comes down to your woke type, they just double down and insist their way is going to work, even though the definition of insanity is doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result. And the woke types, they expect a different result by doing the exact same thing and not understanding that all you're going to do is make yourself crazy trying to do the exact same things over and over again, expecting to get the change that they say they want. And again, that's the definition of insanity, to expect that you're going to keep doing the exact same things and things are going to change. So I look at the woke types and I say to myself, okay, you did this, it didn't work, let's move on. You did this again, it didn't work, let's move on. And their whole notion is, I did this, you didn't like it, something's wrong with you. And that's not what any business person like myself is going to say. The business person like myself is going to say, okay, this didn't work. I need to take a look at what I'm doing and I need to correct course. I need to take a critical examination of what my approach to this, and I need to learn what I'm doing wrong. And this is the problem with your woke type. They just don't want to admit that they're wrong. And again, that's a trait that a lot of males and females who come from single mother households have, because they saw their mother not taking any responsibility. They saw their mother repeating the same mistakes. And instead of them taking that critical examination of the mistakes they have made and say, okay, I was wrong here, I need to correct course, they continue to go on the same course, hitting the same wall over and over again. And that's what the woke types do out here. And when they see people prospering, they get angry and they get jealous. And what they want to do is cancel that person because they're having success that they want to have. But what they don't understand is that that person is having success because they're willing to go through the hardship, they're willing to go through the pain, and most importantly, they're willing to listen to differences of opinion, listen to different viewpoints, listen to different ideas, and gain some perspective on things, because we don't know everything. I mean, the only person who knows everything is the living God. He's the only person who knows because he's omniscient, omnipresent, and he's the creator of the universe. So the Most High is the only one who knows everything. But the woke type thinks they're on the same level as God just because they went to a certain university or they have a certain degree in something, as I see, as trivial as women's studies, gender studies, or one of these other subjects. They think they know everything. But I can tell you, as a guy who has gained some perspective on his own college education, I remember coming out of college in my early 20s. I was 22 when I graduated college. And Luciano, I think I have it. We'll see with the donation. But I remember being a 22-year-old guy coming out of college. I thought I knew everything. And the whole thing is, I went through about a year of hardship and a lot of pain trying to enter the job market. And that's the thing that really humbled me, because when I look at myself at 22, when I came out of grad school, I graduated at the top of my class. I thought I knew everything. I thought, just like a lot of these woke types, oh, I'm going to come out here and change the world. But God had a way of humbling me by me having a struggle and trying to look for work and finding out that I wasn't really as smart as I thought I was. And I look at these woke types and they need that type of humbling, because a lot of them, they think that they know everything. But I can tell you that a 22-year-old or a 21-year-old knows absolutely nothing. And when I listen to a lot of these super far leftists who came out of these colleges, all they're doing is parroting everything that their professors told them. And what your professors really don't know everything. I mean, they're well versed in a subject, but their opinion isn't the only opinion. And what a lot of these colleges are doing with as I'm seeing it, is not really helping these kids by teaching them the foundations of things like research. Because when I go out here and do research on books like The Man Crisis, which you can pick up by clicking the link in the chat, you have to take different perspectives, different viewpoints, and use that to form your thesis. And while you may not agree with many of those viewpoints presented, then they do give you perspective on things. I remember back in about 2000, I was doing some research on nice guys, and I found this feminist website, and they talked about why women don't like nice guys. And at first, I looked at that website and I thought, oh, this feminist was wrong. But then after I watched The Last American Virgin on DVD, I listened to what those women were saying, and I saw everything they talked about from that perspective about nice guys. And then I also, a couple of years later, saw what Dr. Robert Glover, when he wrote his book, he saw the exact same thing. So here I had the woman's viewpoint and I had the man's viewpoint, and both of those viewpoints both came together to give me the exact same paradigm of failure about your nice guys. But your colleges these days, you get a lot of these professors who are they've got their tenure, they're comfortable, and they're so caught up in their ego that all they do is indoctrinate people and they don't educate people. And that's the thing that is leading to us having so many of these woke types with this very narrow-minded perspective, because we were taught that college was supposed to give people a broader perspective, give them a greater understanding of the world. But when I look at your colleges these days, they are these indoctrination centers which are bearing this bitter harvest of these children of the corn who become these thorns, who grow up and they go out here and bring thorns and briars, who don't know how to debate an individual based on logic and reason. Instead, what we're seeing is a bunch of really emotional people who want to shout you down, scream at you. And again, I thought an intellectual would have enough thick skin from professors critiquing them to be able to take it, to listen to a difference of opinion and to really think about, okay, this person's presenting a difference of opinion, different viewpoint. Maybe this will give me some perspective on things. I mean, this when I look at our colleges right now that are producing these woke types, they don't show me again that fruit, that these are going to be people who can be these so-called analytical thinkers and critical thinkers. Because when you have people who have these blue and multicolored hair and their whole viewpoint is going out here and trying to shout another person down, that shows me that they don't have a strong college education. They don't really have, they didn't learn anything. I mean, they're not bearing the fruit of an educated individual. An educated individual would be like what I was when I was going to college. When I would listen to just different people, just sit back and just listen to them, listen to differences of opinion, and be able to say, okay, that's his opinion, that's his viewpoint. I'm going to put that in perspective and consider that, because to shout somebody down, again, that shows me that this person isn't educated and they're not really smart. Thank you, Kevin Wedburn. Yeah, we don't need any Sodom and Gomorrah in our lives today. I have to agree with that, because that's what we're having right now. I mean, our society, when I look at this woke culture, I look at this culture, again, these colleges, they're not really producing individuals who are going to help America prosper. Because when you have individuals who spend their whole day looking for somebody to tear down, how can they build a country into a great nation? That's another critical question people need to ask. You have to ask that question as related to that, because how can people who look to, sit there online all day long, arguing with somebody, going back and forth with somebody, looking to go out here and form these social justice mobs that attack people's livelihoods and attack people's to make a living. How can they go out here and build a nation to become greater when they're looking to tear other individuals down? They're looking to tear other people apart, and they're looking to go over other people. Like Luciano made the point, like in Rome, they viewed everybody by their ranks, and they're not thinking about people as just people. What they're doing is, again, they show us that these are not people who are going to bear good fruit for our country. They're not going to go out here and build businesses. They're not going to go out here and build wealth. They're going to keep everybody in poverty, just like people in the ghetto did. Because again, I lived in the ghetto and I watched people, whenever they saw somebody get a new pair of shoes, somebody get a nice car, somebody go out here and buy a new TV, always plotting to hurt somebody else. And that's what the woke types are doing. They think they're going to make America a greater nation by making everything be more so-called tolerant. But what they're doing is tearing down everybody. And when they tear down everybody, all you're going to get is a nation turned into a ghetto. And these people, they don't really see where they're going, because a lot of them are young. A lot of them are, they're in their 20s, and they think they've got their whole life ahead of them. But as a 46 going on 47-year-old man, I can tell you that, life has a way of going very quickly, and 20 years can be gone like that. And you could wind up in nothing but ruins because you don't really want to think about how things are going. Because with these woke types, they think they've got all the time in the world because they're in their late teens and early 20s, not understanding that the decades can go very quickly and you can wind up going nowhere in 10 years. I mean, that's something people really don't think about. It's something I know from life experience. I mean, 10 years can just come and go like that. And all of a sudden, all of that fire you had for going out here to attack people, when you see yourself winding up with nothing, like a lot of people in the hood wind up with nothing, you start looking at your life and saying, well, what did I do all this for? What am I doing? I mean, you're tearing people down, you're destroying other people, you're destroying and you don't see how it's destroying yourself, because your so-called wokeness has you blind. And because you're blind, you can't see the reality of how this is destroying you, how all of this anger is destroying you, how all of this bitterness is destroying you, and how all of this hatred you have, even though you say that you don't hate anyone, we can clearly see this from the fruits of your behavior. We can see there's a great hatred inside many of these woke types, a great anger inside of them. And that anger and that hatred, I believe, is keeping a lot of the woke types from living the abundant life that Christ wants us all to live. I mean, Christ wants us all to live an abundant life. He wants us all to have the best in life. And it's hard to find God's blessings if you're so caught up in your feelings about the world, and you're so caught up in your feelings and anger about things that really you can't change on your own. I mean, the whole thing is that God has the very best for you in this world, and life is too short to be sitting there being miserable about a world that, as I see it, isn't going to change until Jesus returns to the earth. Because many of these people, they're sitting there trying to change the woke types. They want to call themselves changing the world. But I go back to the Ecclesiastics, where he said that that's just vanity. And the world, as I see it, is going to be the same as it was back in the days of old, because as long as you have sin in this world, and people are born in sin, nothing is really going to change until Jesus returns and establishes his kingdom on the earth. So a lot of people, they're sitting there angry and bitter, and again, missing out on God's blessings on this earth, missing out on the very best in life, and missing out and not understanding, again, the time you sit there spending there being miserable is time out of your life you're never going to get back. And that's another thing that the woke types, they really don't understand. You're missing out on the best days of your life. I mean, these are your years when you're in your teens and your 20s. You're in your prime, as I see it, and you don't want to miss out on that. I mean, miss out on the fun you could have, miss out on the things you could do. I mean, miss out on just the very best times of your life. I mean, times that people, when they have them, they really need to appreciate them. But many of the woke types, they take that time for granted. And instead of them working on living to go pursue their dreams, they go out here looking to take away other people's dreams, take away other people's lives. And again, these blind people think that they're woke, but they're really asleep. And they really don't see how they are agents of Satan going out here. Again, they're not bearing the fruit. They're bearing thorns and briars, and they're tearing up everything that people build because they, in many cases, are so caught up in their anger, all they know about their lives. And I think some things are related to their families. I think some things are related to their feelings about abandonment. And a lot of these people, as I see it, the woke types, they went to college, but they also, as I see it, need counseling. What's going on, Benny G? Glad to see you here. I'm talking about these woke types, these internet Pharisees and Sadducees, these hypocrites who sit there and want to cancel people because they disagree with them. And these people who don't see how their behavior is ungodly and un-American. I mean, these colleges, they're not creating, as I see it, people who will go out here and create and innovate. Because I remember when colleges used to create innovative and creative people, when they would go out here and create this fruit that would go out here and help enrich society, give us different perspectives, give us different viewpoints. I mean, we had a college system that was producing good fruit and producing great people. But these days, we have, as I see it, a bunch of comfortable college professors who have created a fiefdom. And as they have created their far left fiefdom, what they are doing now is creating these woke types. And these woke types are bearing thorns and briars. And those thorns and briars are going to do damage to our country, because when you have individuals who can't do what college graduates of my generation could do, use logic and reason, be able to think critically, and be able to think and understand different perspectives and different viewpoints, then that college education has practically failed, because that's the way somebody with a high school diploma or a dropout would think. They would have a narrow view. But when I listen to many of the guys with high school graduate diplomas and degrees that are considered so-called less than, they can sit there and really think about things more critically than your college graduate who can only go out here and argue on emotion. I'm glad that you enjoyed the Bubba Wallace video, Luciano. I really thank you for the Cash App donation. Again, if you guys want to make Cash App donations to see me make more videos, want to request a video on a subject that you think I can do, you can donate to the Cash App and I'll make that video for you. But I want to get back. I'm going to get back to this because, again, I look at these colleges, and again, they produce this woke culture and these woke types, and they want to destroy everything around them. I mean, you have people who, again, took this George Floyd murder and they have practically twisted it into something that is just, it has nothing to do with George Floyd anymore. I mean, what does tearing down Confederate statues have to do with George Floyd? And they went from going to tear down statues of not George Floyd, of Confederate soldiers and Confederate symbols, to wanting to tear down statues of Ulysses S. Grant, a man who fought for the Union and fought for Black people. They wanted to take down statues of people like Teddy Roosevelt, who helped Black people tremendously. I mean, the first Black female postmaster was hired by Theodore Roosevelt and got support from Theodore Roosevelt. And then they went to going to talk about ripping down statues of Abraham Lincoln, a man who liberated and freed the slaves. And then you had guys like your Sean King talking about how he wanted to tear down a statue of Jesus because he said it was a white Jesus. Now, I'll agree with him on the point about it being a so-called white Jesus, but when you look at that whole turning, you start to see the fruit as related to the devil, because the devil, again, is a destroyer, and the devil hates Jesus Christ. So it just shows you, again, how your woke types they're just so caught up in their emotions, they can't see how their father is the devil, and they can't see how the devil is using them to destroy everything. And you're sitting there talking about taking down a statue of Jesus. And again, this escalation shows how, while these people are caught up in their symbolic gestures, these woke types, they just have this, they show the fruit that they're bearing to everyone. And that fruit shows us that they are not of God. They want to go out here and they want to destroy everybody. They want to destroy everything. And they want to destroy everything because these people are hurting inside. They have this deep anger inside of them. And this anger, I see this is something that really needs to be addressed, because these people, they want to just destroy everything, and they think that they're doing something right. And that's what the Pharisees and the Sadducees thought when they had this plan to, again, crucify Jesus. They thought they were doing something great, and they didn't understand that Jesus he came here to die for everybody's sins, and things were done in spite of them, not because of them. And yeah, Far Side of the Fan. I saw the articles on that, but the one on that statue with him with an Indian and a slave, I don't think anybody needs to remove that. I mean, that's a part of history, and we need to understand things from the context of history. That our history, we have to understand that there were things that we think are bad now, that they were a part of history then, and that's something. Thank you, Brandon Harris, for the Cash App. I really appreciate it. But these are things that are part of our history, and even though we don't like them, we can learn from them. And this is the other part that all of these people who want to tear statues down don't understand. Those statues are a part of our history, and while there are parts of our history that are ugly, we have to accept that these things happened. I mean, that's another part of the woke culture. They don't want to accept that things happen in life. I mean, we have tragedies that happen in life. We have problems that happen in life. And you can't deny that things happened. You have to accept that they happened. And you have to, learn from what happened. I mean, I remember back in November of '89, I got mugged on a train, and I couldn't deny that it happened. I had to acknowledge that it happened. I had to acknowledge that people who I went to school with were not in my best interest. These were painful things I had to deal with, and I had to accept that my life was not going in a place that was going to benefit me, and I had to learn from my mistakes. I had to learn that the way I was going wrong, and this is something I had to learn, and I had to apply as I started working with God to move on. This is something I had to do, but your woke types, again, they don't want to learn from anything. Again, they just are so in their feelings. All they want to do is destroy others. All they want to do is hurt others, and really don't they really don't care about anything except their feelings, not understanding that that statue is not going to change anything as related to your life. It's not, tearing down that statue isn't going to make anything better, because the problem with the woke type is that it's in his heart. Thank you, Benny G, for the super chat. I really appreciate it. Um, Again, if you want to donate to the super chat, or you want to donate to the Cash App, or you want to pick up one of my books like The Man Crisis, I'm going to leave the link to the Man Crisis on Amazon, where you can pick that book up and learn about this man crisis, which I believe is the foundation for a lot of what's going on here. I really want to see people, really understand, this woke culture, this cancel culture. This is not something that is going to help your nation prosper. It's not going to help people. Luciano asks, do SJWs and virtual signaling encourage Black people to be fragile and hypersensitive? I think that their virtue signaling doesn't help Black people. It enables victimization. It enables people to not take responsibility, and it doesn't help people grow. I mean, part of being out here is understanding that people have to take responsibility for themselves and their actions, and they have to learn from the mistakes in their lives. And your SJWs and woke types, they enable dysfunction in people, and they also have a very paternalistic view where they see people as less than, and they often look at Black people like myself and see, they don't see the very best from them. They don't really see, glad to see you here, Cheryl from Brooklyn, really glad to see you here. They don't see people being able to step up and do better for themselves. So they don't see people as people. They don't see people as aspiring to do better. They have a very condescending, they look down on people, and they don't see people as being able to move forward unless they can move forward the way they want them to move, because in their smooth world, you have to be at the bottom, and your standard will never meet their standard. That's the other disturbing thing about your woke types. They don't really see a value in other people. And Benny G asks, do I think Black Lives Matter and the leftists and academics control the Overton window? Yeah, I think that they do, because they have pushed things so far that nobody can see things from a very objective or rational perspective. Everything is to either one of two extremes, the far left or the far right. We have no real center. We have no real balance. We have no real objectivity. And because we don't have any objectivity, we have people who just run on emotion, and they don't really think about things as related to balance. We don't really think about, okay, this happened, now we need to learn from it and move on. We just think we want to destroy everybody. Like you have a lot of woke types to talk about smashing the patriarchy, another illogical argument when you think about it, because the ultimate patriarch is the living God, the creator of the universe. And while he is not a man, and he is a spirit, and he created a patriarchal order. So when you say you want to so-called smash the patriarchy, what you really are is putting yourself up against God. And that's a fight you're not going to win. And the woke types, they want to sit there and think, oh, we're going to smash this patriarchy, and have these crazy ideas that they were given by these professors. They don't understand that the so-called patriarchy was established by the Most High living God, his son, Jesus Christ, both males and both men. And again, not men, but spirits who are male. So you're saying you want to smash a patriarchy when the patriarchy was the thing that created God's natural order, and that patriarchy was established by God and Jesus, and they made man his steward. So what these leftists and these extremists in the woke sector, they don't understand that in their efforts to try to go after the patriarchy, they're going to get the ultimate cancellation by the living God, because when your arms are not long enough to box with God, and you are guaranteed to lose if you follow Satan down this road. And that's the whole thing with the woke type. Again, they're so caught up in their self-righteousness, they can't see how they're following Satan, and following Satan is going to lead to you going to hell, because you're sitting there thinking that you're doing right. And again, goes back to what was said in the Psalms, where he said there was a way that, or the Proverbs, I believe, there's a way that a man thinks that he's going is right, but the end is death. And when you look at your woke types, they think that they're going on a way that is right, but the ultimate end is death. And we're not talking about a physical death. We are talking about a spiritual death, where you will be forever separated from the Most High and his Son, Jesus Christ. And these people, again, aren't thinking about the spiritual as related to their soul, and they're not thinking about the future. They're just thinking about the world today, trying to change a world that belongs to the Most High living God and the fullness thereof. Everything belongs to him, and things don't change in his world unless he wants them to change. And the woke person, they think that because they've, again, gone to this college, or they've got this little education, they're going to change the world, when the education you have is nothing to the Most High, the creator of this universe, and it's not even a grain of salt in terms of knowledge to the Most High living God. When he looks at the woke types, I mean, it's just laughable, because these people think that they're so smart, and they think that they're going to go out here and cancel people. They're going to destroy people, and they're going to hurt people. And again, the problem is not the other people out here who have these differing opinions and different viewpoints. The problem is the woke person. And the problem is the woke person because while they are so caught up in their self-righteousness, they cannot follow a principle Jesus told his own disciples as related to people who disagree with them. And that principle was to shake the dust off your feet as a testimony to them and walk away. And if Jesus could walk away from people who disagreed with him, then why can't the woke types walk away from people who they disagree with? That's another critical question people need to start asking these woke types who want to go on these campaigns to cancel people. Why can't you just walk away from people who disagree with you? Why can't you just shake the dust off your feet as a testimony to those people? And why can't you just leave those people as you see them? I mean, if Jesus could walk away from people, why can't you walk away from people and just let those people be what they are going to be? But those people who are a part of cancel culture, they are insecure, and because they are insecure, they don't feel confident unless people agree with them, and because they are insecure, they need to convince people that their way is the only way. They're very similar to these people, these pseudo-Christians. Whenever you run into a pseudo-Christian and they're telling you about God and you don't agree with them, they want to threaten you, they want to bully you, they want to harass you, and they want to shame you by telling you you're going to hell. But that really, again, shows how they're not bearing the fruit of the Spirit that the Most High living God has for us. Because again, a person who follows the Most High living God, they will be able to say, okay, that person isn't interested in what I'm saying right now. I'm going to walk away from them and again, follow Christ, who again shook the dust off his feet as a testimony to them. And sometimes it's not even sometimes it's just people, they may not hear you then, but they will hear you later on. And again, you can't get in your emotions because somebody has, as you see it, rejected or rebuffed you. I mean, that's something that many of the religious types do. They get in their feelings because somebody doesn't want to go to their church, or somebody doesn't agree with them on scripture, they will sit there and they will just go out and go crazy, not understanding that you are bearing bad fruit to people. You're going out here and you're bearing this bad fruit. And that bad fruit you're bearing is you're not showing people that example of Christ that could inspire others to change. No, what you're doing is showing a really bad example that alienates people. And this is why so many people become, as I see it, agnostics or atheists, because they see these pseudo-Christians and the way they attack people and abuse people. And the same thing with the woke type. They bear this bad fruit and they wind up alienating people, and people don't want to support them because they don't see you bearing that good fruit, showing that example of Christ, or showing that example that, okay, you are somebody who's going to be reasonable and rational. Instead, you show this emotional display that makes you prove every point that other person had regarding you. And your woke types, they prove everybody's point about them, saying that they were how they're intolerant, how they're insensitive, and how many of them just they prove all the points that people say about them, and they don't present that example that shows us why we should go out here and want to support their platform or their agenda. I mean, why should people support the platform and agenda of people who want to go out here and destroy other people, want to destroy other people's lives, want to destroy other people's livelihoods, and want to prevent people from making a living, all because they wrote something on a social media site, wrote something on a blog, wrote something on Facebook? I mean, I think about that, and again, it's straining a gnat and swallowing a camel. You want to destroy this individual for something they wrote or posted, but you don't want to go out here and deal with real issues. I mean, for example, you have your Black Lives Matter. They want to go out here and talk about all of these other things, but you have a website called Ghetto Gaggers they don't want to deal with. I mean, I thought about that. I said, if you really want to show the value of a Black woman's life, we want to do something about that. I mean, this is an organization founded by Black women who think they would want to do something about that. And again, they use the bodies of Black men to push these agendas as related to single motherhood and dysfunction. And they want to build ghettos, but they don't want to build anything prosperous because they don't want to take responsibility. So I look at people and the woke crowd, and again, I don't see anything there that is positive, because again, I look at it, it's the same thing as that ruler who built those gallows in the Bible. He wanted to build the gallows to kill the Jews, but they wound up hanging on his own gallows. And again, when these woke types create these standards to hurt other people, what they want to do is they wind up hurting themselves, and they don't see how they're their own worst enemy and how they're hurting their own self, because they need to really work on the issues in their own lives and take that knot out of their own eye before looking at the plank in the eye of society. So before I get ready to wrap the stream up, I want everybody, the 68 people in the chat, I want you to go over to Indiegogo in another tab and put your email on the Omega Black Indiegogo. Chris Brown has created a great Black manga, and he needs 300 people to be on the list for that manga. So far as I know, he has 217 people on the list, and everybody who signs up for the list, if you put in a pledge for the Omega Black manga, you're going to get free shipping. This is a project I was editing on. It's a great manga, and I'm glad to be a part of it. And I'm going to give you some news. I just got my email from Bill Walko yesterday. He's got some of the pages for the Easting No Good Deed comic strip, and they look fantastic. I mean, Bill did an amazing job on these, and these strips are. This is the Easting comic that's going to be featured in Easting Blast from the Past, and I'm going to get ready to put a teaser page up on the post section. So The strip is in sketch stage, and it looks absolutely fantastic. And I can't wait to share it with people, because one of the things I wanted to do was branch out into making comics, and I wouldn't have been able to pay to get this No Good Deed strip done without the help of all of the patrons and all of the people who donate to the super chat. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't have been able to get this strip out here. I mean, this strip was supposed to be a part of the ISIS graphic novel. And while I couldn't get the Indiegogo funded last year, I said I wanted to reward the patrons and all the people who donated on the super chat with a strip, and I'm working towards getting that done. And I really want to thank everybody who donated on Patreon, because it's happening, and I hope eventually I can get to the point where we can get enough funding to create the ISIS graphic novel. But this is a step in that direction. I'm going to post up one of the pages as Croissant Kipuru. Thank you for the super chat. He asked, do you feel being unemployed for a number of years has made you wiser and not having to deal with the corporate BS? I have to say, being unemployed has given me some perspective on things. It has given me some wisdom about how to behave and conduct myself in life. And it's given me some perspective on how I can, be a better person. And while not dealing with, I don't deal with the corporate BS now, but it has helped me become, as I see it, giving me some perspective. And I have to agree, yeah, that's made me wiser in some ways. It's helped me become, more focused on men's issues, because after I lost that job at City College, and I sat down, I was watching videos from brothers like Dan Freeman and T-Mott and Rick Scorpio, and learning about things, and the Iceman, the Superboy, that showed me that I wasn't the only guy out here dealing with this. And I wanted to help other men with my work, and because my mission, again, was originally to create positive stories, but I branched out into men's issues so I could help other men, because I know how hard it is for a brother out here in the job market. I know that there's a lot of corporate racism in these corporate environments, and how a lot of men, they don't really know how to navigate it, especially a lot of young guys in their 20s and even in their 30s. So I wanted to give them some understanding about things. Far side of the fence, I did look for civil service jobs, but the whole thing is, it's really a rigged system, and there's nothing I can do. The HR there is controlled by females. And when I lost that job, I applied for another exam, and then I ran into an HR brick wall. I applied for an IT job, and then they just rigged the whole game. So that's what made me walk away from civil service. But I would gladly take another one of those jobs like that any day. They have good benefits, they have good job security, but the whole thing is the politics there. I try to avoid politics when I'm on a job. I try to mind my business and just do my work. But you have a lot of people there. They're caught up in, one, their politics, and then two, they're caught up in their racism. And I know how it is out there, and that's why I try to give brothers out here and sisters out here some perspective from my work experience out here. And I try to give people some understanding so that they can keep their job. That's one of the reasons why I wrote books like Stop Simping in the Workplace, because I see so many guys out here, they get caught up on some foolishness. They get caught up on something, like they'll say something, or some guy's having a bad day, some white guy or some female's having a bad day, and they'll lose everything that they work for and everything that they built. And I don't want to see anybody, really lose anything. So that's why I wrote Stop Simping. I wrote Stop Simping in the Workplace so guys could get an understanding of the business world. I left a link to it in the chat. And I see so many guys, they get messed over. I've been on those interviews at civil service where I just get these contemptuous looks from women, and I get this attitude from people, and not much professionalism, because everybody sees the black man as a threat. And this is why we don't see black men in these jobs, because the women control the human resources department, and they use their female own group preference to go out here and hire other women. They buy into the narratives that women are being oppressed, even though women are the majority of the workers in the business and in civil service. If you look at the demographics and the percentages, the most of the majority of people working are there, and you don't see many black men there. And the whole thing is that a lot of people bring their personal issues, like white men and black women and white women. They have personal issues about black men, and they bring that into the interview. They bring their personal baggage to the interview. They bring their emotions regarding black men. Oh, I tried the post office, but that's a nightmare. Bureaucracy. It's just like your stuff gets lost in limbo. I mean, I tried there a couple of times, but if I got the offer, I would take it in a heartbeat. But that would mean less videos for everyone. But I would gladly take that offer. Luciano asks, why is there so much undereducation about black people being able to use the tools and resources? That's because black people are not really taught about their rights. And that's because black people are not taught, that they have rights. A lot of black men and women, what happens when they go on a job is they wind up believing that they have no way of defending themselves or standing up for themselves. And people use that as a way to get them out, because most people see the black man and the black woman as a threat on these jobs. So they look for ways to try to get you terminated, try to get you fired. I mean, even the black women will look for ways to get you fired off the job. And get you out. And that's just when you come in there, because a lot of people, they come in with jealousy. A lot of them come with envy. They don't really like seeing another black person because they see another black person as competition, especially another black man. And when they see another black man come into the office, they just get so jealous. I mean, I've run into that when I was working at this nonprofit Strive in 2000. I ran into it at City College. I mean, people get jealous when they see another black man and he's coming in there and he's wearing nice shirts, nice clothes, and he's looking real good. They start getting jealous of that black man, and you get these black women, white men, and white women. The black women get jealous of the black man because they think they can't get with him, or in some cases, or they get jealous because they remind them of a dude they got involved with. The white guys start getting jealous because they are jealous of that black man because he appears to be successful and on their level. And the white women start getting jealous because they just get angry at the idea of this black man coming in here and being on, again, that same level as everybody else. So they get mad when they see a black man, looking good, having confidence, and being secure in himself. I mean, you just get these envious looks, and I've run into that a lot. And you come in there wearing, especially if you come in there wearing stuff like I would wear, like when I was wearing CUNY, I was wearing a lot of Brooks Brothers and Charles Turwitt and wearing nice slacks and looking polished. This makes people upset because they want to see, a black man coming in looking raggedy. They want to see him unshaven. They want to see him looking dirty because they're in their world. A black man can't step up to that level. If he's coming out here and he's looking real good, this makes them uncomfortable because it means that they got to step up. And that's, as I see it, should not be your problem if you're a black man in business world. Don't worry about, other people. God has you, and you need to worry about doing the best work that God wants you to do. The Far Side fan, go for it. I mean, it's a nightmare, but if you can get the job at the post office, get it and do your best to keep it, because that's a good job, good benefits, good retirement, and save your money. So if you can get it, you can get it. I mean, it's going to be a challenge, but if you can get that job, you go out here and get it and go for it. I mean, yeah, there's bureaucratic hassle with these civil service jobs, but the whole thing is you just have to go for it, because if you can get it, you're going to have a job for the next 10, 20 years. I mean, some of these guys have them jobs for 30 years, and if you can get it, go for it, because it's hard to get once you get it. And I don't know if there used to be a lot of black men during the 70s and 80s, but I see a lot more Latinos and Asians. So what they have done is they have, as I see it, they look out for each other, but with black men, we don't look out for each other. And that's why that's another problem with black men on the job, is that we don't look out for each other and, try to make sure that we look out for a guy when an opening opens up, or we look out for an individual on the job so they can keep a job. That's another thing black men and women need to do, is try to keep other people from getting us out of our job. That's what I ran into when I was working at the city college. Black female with the so-called natural hair, pro-black, was working against me. And again, we don't understand how that works against us, because other groups like Latinos, Asians, they look out for each other. And if they see a jam coming for one of their guys, they protect that guy so that they can keep that job and keep that revenue coming in for the group, and keep that revenue coming in and building up their community. That's something that they try to do. And it's something we need to start doing. But with the woke types, they don't want to do that. Again, they see themselves as individuals, but you have to think about group economics long term. So that's another thing people really need to think about as related to, jobs and economics. And I need to do another live stream about jobs and economics and, building, because a lot of people, they don't know what jobs are meant to be for. They're meant for you to have a stream of income to take care of yourself while you work towards your own personal goals. And they're meant to be a place where, you have a way to pay your bills while you're working on your goals, because your goals should be the first thing that you work on and the first thing you work towards. And that's what you should be really working on when you're on a job. You're not just there to just do work for these guys. I mean, yeah, you're going to work and do your very best, but your ultimate goal is to have other things that you're doing, other revenue streams and other business streams, and be able to build, because that's like one of the things that you're building with. And then you use the capital you get from the job to go out here and build other ventures for yourself, like businesses, like I did with the SJS Direct Imprint, and like other brothers do with their things like their music or things like their art. They use the resources they have to go out here, and they do that because it's something that you're supposed to do. I mean, when you go out here and you work, what are you working for? And yeah, that's true, Farside. When I look at my post office in my neighborhood, it's mostly Latino guys, Asian men and women, and that's because Asians and Latinos look out for each other. And the same thing with the courts, Asians and Latinos, they will protect each other. And when I was working at City College, one of the things I saw was black females were helping a Latino guy become a union officer, not understanding that when he got that position in the union, he was going to use that to help other Latinos get work. And they were so busy looking to help other races, they weren't looking out for black people, and they were trying to be so-called fair, not understanding other groups are not looking to be fair. They're looking to build economic bases and political bases, and that's something they weren't really thinking about. And 10 years later, I'm guessing City College is probably primarily Latinos working there and Asians working there, because they look out for each other, while black people, we look to tear each other down. We got this I got mine, F you mentality. And it's a really troubling mentality, because yeah, you got yours, but you got to look out for the next brother, and you got to look out for the next person, because that's how you keep wealth and you keep economic power in your community. So that's something I saw when I was working at City College, and I'm talking about my world of work and where I was. But I may do a live stream on this I got mine, F you mentality that the boomers have, because it's another mentality like the woke mentality that's doing damage to black people. And it's just like this woke culture is doing damage to our society. So this woke culture, as I see it, again, it's ungodly, un-American, and these woke types, they are walking in their own self-righteousness of their religion. And again, they don't see how they're bearing this fruit of thorns and briars that is destroying the lives of everyone. I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's stream. And I'd really appreciate if you guys would head over to Amazon and pick up some of my books. I have a lot of positive African American fiction on Amazon. Let me see if I can get this real quick. Like 2020's John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, which is on Amazon.com. This is action-packed African American fantasy fiction where the man who rules the world, John Haynes, takes on the block, A Man with Nothing to Lose. This is on paperback and Kindle formats. It's also on Google Play and the iBookstore. It's, again, a fun action-packed fantasy fiction. I'm going to leave a link to it in the chat. I also want everybody to pick up The Temptation of John Haynes, which starts everything. Just a link to The Temptation of John Haynes. And I'm going to leave a link to John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose, which, I mean, these books are only like $3.99 on Kindle. It's less than a cup of coffee. I'll leave a link to John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. It's a great story, urging everybody to pick it up. And also have ISIS, The Main Event, which I'm going to show in a minute. Thank you, T-Mac. So I have ISIS, The Main Event, where the goddess next door steps into the squared circle against the beast from the bowels. So this is another action-packed African-American fantasy fiction. I write these to be like comic books, so if you want to pick this one up, I really would appreciate it too. I mean, 64 people in the chat. If 64 people gave me sales, we could really get this book up in the Amazon rankings. Same thing with John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. I mean, $3.99 is less. It's just as much as about a comic book on the ebook side, and it's $8.99 in paperback. So really, it's nothing, but it really helps with the sales, and it really helps me get more readers, and helps these books, positive African-American fiction, get in more hands. So I really would appreciate if you pick up ISIS, The Main Event, and John Haynes, The Man with Nothing to Lose. And I have other books like John Haynes and Dark Succubus and many others on there. So again, I want to thank everybody for coming out to this stream. Glad to see you here, Cheryl Branch. I'm really glad to see you here, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming to the stream. And I'm hoping you guys come out to the next stream. So